bought into everything they needed to do to be the best players that they could be. There's more togetherness on this team than almost any team that we've ever had. And they had to overcome and persevere so much adversity through this season, and they've done it magnificently. And I'm so proud of this group for what they've been able to accomplish and going undefeated and winning the national championship.
Streaming live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and the Tide 100.9 app. Here is your host of Off the Edge, Jacob Harrison.
Hello there. Good morning. Welcome in to Off the Edge, Tide 100.9. Great day to talk some Alabama Crimson Tide football. We'll do that for the next 57 minutes here on your home for Crimson Tide sports, available on the Tide 100.9 app on Android and Apple devices. Just search it up in your Google Play or App Store. Tide 100.9 app, and you'll have your best friend as a Crimson Tide fan all throughout the season and in the offseason. News, conjecture, analysis, opinion, all of it's there, whether it's for your Crimson Tide here on campus, all sports, all the time, plus the guys getting it done in the NFL. Everywhere you turn on a Sunday afternoon, man, it's this guy from Alabama, this guy from Alabama, this guy from Alabama. I was listening to the Steelers-Raiders game on the way back from Gainesville on the Steelers Nation radio, and after every single play, it would be Kenyon Drake, fourth-year guy from Alabama, or Henry Ruggs, the second-year guy from Alabama, Minka Fitzpatrick, the guy from Alabama. It was over and over and over again. And we'll update you on all of those guys all throughout the week. And tomorrow, of course, will be the Bama Pro of the Week. We'll name who that is. Got a strong feeling he wears two-tone blue, but we'll see how it goes after Monday night and those sorts of things too, all things being equal. But all the same, download the app. It's your best friend. You get the game day all day. You get Eli Gold's call of the game, and you get all of our local content here from 6 to 6. Normal programming as well as Tide Tonight and Hey Coach and all the great things there as well. Let's dive into it though. 205-342-9904. More than welcome to join the show today and lend your reactions, your thoughts on everything. Will Anderson was just named the SEC Player of the Week. Very well deserved. Played a crucial role in that game and played through the knee injury that, was very scary, but at the same time was kind of expected for him to play. Gets out of the game though with respectable stats. He didn't get a sack in the game, but that just speaks to kind of the impact that he did have on the game just based off of his presence. 7 total tackles, 4 of those solo and 2 tackles for loss, especially one where he teamed up with Fedarian Mathis there on Florida's final drive, which really halted the time and allowed Alabama to, preserve some effort there to win the ball game. And that's kind of where I want to start, is on the defensive side of the ball anyway. In the swamp, first of all, props to that environment and props to the Crimson Tide for walking out of there with a win. Sometimes you got to have a little bit of luck, and the fact that Florida missed an early PAT and then had their worst play call of the entire second half to go for the 2-point conversion there. Sometimes you got to have a little bit of luck. And those were the 2 lucky plays that Alabama got that were the difference on the scoreboard. Overall, though, no, the defense didn't play perfect. The defense did not play perfect. DeMarco Helms, he's been the first name out of everybody's mouth because he, misplayed a ball on the 99-yard touchdown drive. First of all, if you're going to give up a 99-yard touchdown drive, you're going to do it. There's really no, at that point, the offenses kind of solidified themselves. And Florida was able to do that the entire second half. Just long, dominant drives where it just, every time Alabama made a play defensively, Florida was able to return return was something that would move the sticks. And it was frustrating. It was infuriating. And I can fully understand, the initial reaction to just kind of want to throw the defense in the garbage and start on Twitter about Pete Golding and all these other things. I'm still here to tell you, Alabama's got the best defense in college football. Here's the thing about football. Sometimes the other team wants to win and can win. Florida could have won that football game. There's a number of things that could have went in their favor that would have allowed them to win the football game. If they had Anthony Richardson, Lord knows what would have happened in the ball game. But we ain't dealing with ifs and buts. Alabama won the football game by 2 points. Alabama didn't play perfectly. Here's the thing about Alabama football. It's not always going to be perfect. It's football. That's the nature of the sport. Sometimes the other team is able to make halftime adjustments that you're just not able to capitalize on. And when you look at the fact that the offense has 3 straight 3-and-outs, what exactly is the defense supposed to do on the other side of that? Alabama had 3 straight drives. The first drive, 30-second time of possession. The second drive, 56 seconds time of possession. The third drive, 2 minutes and 8 seconds time of possession. And then their final drive of the first half, 35 seconds. Then Alabama only had the ball 3 times in the second half. Am I even reading that correctly? In which they held the ball for a total of about 15 minutes overall. So Alabama was able to start putting those drives together on their own on offense, but how is the defense really supposed to be able to respond when the offense is not staying on the field? We'll get to the offense in a second, but everything is circumstantial and everything requires context. And contextually, Alabama's defense didn't play horribly in every facet of the game. Emory Jones, yes, I agree. He did play a lot better than I thought he would, especially given that he was the only quarterback to take snaps for the Florida Gators, which was not the anticipation at all. Anthony Richardson hit his pregame flip, fully expected him to play in the game. He didn't. But Jones going 17 for 27 and 181 yards, that's not great. That's not great. And the interception, first of all, can we talk about Drew Sanders for 5 seconds? Because good grief, what a game that kid had. Just look at the efforts of some of those guys, and you look at me and you tell me that was a bad defensive game. I can't do it. Drew Sanders is the leader of the pack. I know Will Anderson wins SEC Player of the Week, and Drew was a little bit quiet on the stat sheet in the second half up until yet another 2-point conversion attempt, or goal line stand where he was a big factor in shutting down the play. But I mean, the stunt blitz that sent him in the middle, brilliant. I mean, that is excellent play calling. That was beautifully drawn up, and it worked to perfection, and Alabama got the interception, and it led to 7 points on the board for the Crimson Tide, and that's exactly what you want. Alabama's got, I think, 6 turnovers now on the season that they have forced, and almost every single one of them has resulted in points. Pete Golding said before the season the turnovers would average out to somewhere around 5.5 points. They're over that. They are exceeding that average. Tell me this is a bad defense. Yes, 43 rushing attempts for 258 yards. Oh, that sucks. That's not great. That's not the way you want to get it done. But how about Malik Davis being the leading rusher, though not being the featured back? How about Naquan Wright in the third quarter having the game of his life with 7 carries and 58 yards, busting off big play after big play after big play? Sometimes when it's the guys that you didn't prepare for getting the job done, it should be a tad bit more understandable. Why do you think Alabama was so dominant in the first quarter, and then Florida had to shift up their game plans in order to get to a spot where they would be competitive? Jacob Copeland had one catch for 10 yards, and Josh Jobe had a terrible game. Every time the ball came Josh Jobe's way, he didn't play well. Yet, Jacob Copeland wasn't even an option. 5 targets, 1 catch. I'd say Josh Jobe had an average game, not a terrible game. Dameon Pierce, heading into the final touchdown that he ran, he had less than 10 yards rushing. He had 7 yards on 6 carries. Then he bust off the 17-yard touchdown. And I don't want to hear anything about holding or any of these sorts of things. The game's going to be called the way it's going to be called. And if you want to see flags on every single play just because you're jealous of what flags you've been given, I don't want to hear it, especially when you're on the road. And almost all of Alabama's penalties were unforced errors. Almost all. The one flag I didn't like was still within the framework of the rules, and that was the DPI on Josh Jobe, on Jacob Copeland, one of the first targets his way in the second half. But when you look at the efforts of guys like Drew Sanders and Fedarian Mathis and Will Anderson, I thought Christian Harris played well. Jalen Armour Davis had a hell of a game. At what point? That's 5 guys on the defense. Just off the DJ Dale had a good game. Where are we at? Where we're saying those guys had good games and yet it wasn't enough? Sure, we can look at the safety play. I don't think Jordan Battle's in a great place to be successful given his talents. The fact that his name is not high on any of the stat sheets is not ideal to me. I think he should have way more than just 4 tackles. He should have the tackles that DeMarco Hellams has, but the problem is that DeMarco Hellams is usually the guy you want to target. And that's no fault of Hellams. He's a great player, but of the 11 out there, he's the one you want to target. And that's just the way it goes. Somebody's got to be that GOAT. Henry Soto didn't play well in coverage on Saturday, but he played really well in the run game. Tennessee fans told us that for a while. It's how it goes when you got a good tight end. When I look at this defense, I still see the best defense in college football. I see on the other side the fact that Florida has Dan Mullen, a great offensive mind. And to want to throw Pete Golding back in the trash after the first 2 weeks, we loved him. The first 2 weeks, we were adored by the fact that his defense played so well. And now he plays his first, great offensive mind in this sport, and it's a stalemate for the most part. Now we got to throw him out. Now it's not good enough. Now that it's not perfect, we're not happy. And I'm not here for that. I'm not buying it one bit. Pete Golding called a good game. Dan Mullen called a better game. And sometimes that's how it goes when you're talking about a guy who's been a defensive coordinator for 3 or 4 years, and you're talking about one of the best offensive minds in the sport. So that leads you to think about Lane Kiffin coming to Bryant-Denny Stadium in 2 weeks, and you start racking your brain. Okay, well, we know what happened last year. How do we avoid that this season? Because Matt Corral is the goods. He's the Heisman favorite right now after a 7-touchdown game. You relax a little bit. You don't panic, and you don't fall asleep and get some R&R, but you do relax a little bit and understand that the talent is there, and there are players on the defense playing well. I'm not at all concerned is my point. The defense is still healthy. The defense still has incredible athletes, and the majority of the players on that defense had great games, despite the circumstances of Dan Mullen calling an excellent second half and the Swamp being one of the loudest places in the entire country on Saturday. So when it comes down to it, don't freak out about the defense. Offensively, I understand the concerns for the offensive line, but I'm here to tell you, again, sometimes the other team is able to do things that are impactful, even when your team plays well. It's called matchmaking. It's called a good matchup to begin with. Florida played much, much better than I anticipated. Florida played much, much better than a lot of Alabama fans anticipated. But that should be commemorated on their part and not viewed as such a negative on Alabama's part. Just because Florida played well does not in turn mean Alabama played poorly. Is Nick Saban right that Alabama needs to sustain intensity throughout a football game? Absolutely. You don't take a 21-0 lead into the first quarter or into the second quarter, and then it just washes away and say that there's not a problem there. I agree with that. But on the offensive line, Brenton Cox played an incredible football game. He wasn't lying when he said he was ready. And he and Chris Allen traded blows. He and Evan Neal traded blows on a handful of occasions. Now, Evan Neal, of course, still the best player on the offense by far, still does his job. But all the concern about Chris Owens, the one sack Chris Owens gave up, despite this incredible pass rush, was a coverage sack. It was because Bryce Young held on to the ball too long because of good coverage down the field. Because Kyer Elam, guess what, is an incredible corner, and he did his job the whole game. Trey Dean played a great game. Got a lick back on John Mechie at one point late in the game. Wasn't nearly as hard of a hit, and also was not nearly as detrimental to the result of the game, but I digress. The offense played about as well as it has all year. And I'd say the offensive line still played pretty well. When you look at the fact that it only gave up 2 sacks and it still put up 100 rushing yards, and I know 100 rushing yards is not good enough, and I understand that, still averaged 4 yards per carry. That is a benchmark, nonetheless, of success. I'm not going to freak out about this offensive line. It's the best combination we have, and it's not as good as one of the greatest offensive lines this school has ever seen. What are you going to do? Sometimes that's just the reality of it. We knew going into the season that Alabama's offense would not be as talented as last year's, and yet we're still in the process of just grasping the fact that maybe Alabama's not the supreme juggernaut of college football this year. Maybe the playing field's a little level, and maybe that should just be okay because maybe we'll get good games. We'll get into that in a little bit when we talk about Bryant-Denny Stadium and what it should learn from the Swamp. We'll do that next, actually, here on Off the Edge. Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama sports.
Don't miss a play at the Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Your front row seat to all the action. Place bets on all professional and most college sports at the counter, kiosk, or on your phone. Then catch the game on one of our 20 big screens from the comfort of the newly remodeled Timeout Lounge. Plus, the PRR Sports app gives you access to live, in-play sports betting. Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Be more than a fan. Be a player. Must be 21.
High prices don't get you a great network. A great network gets you a great network. It's why Total Wireless runs on the largest, most dependable network, now with 5G. And for a limited time, we're doubling your high-speed data on our $35 unlimited plan from 5 gigs to 10. So you can double your binging, your scrolling, your everything. Total Wireless. Do amazing. Available at Total Wireless stores. Capable device and SIM required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. Offer ends 12/31/2021. First 10 gigs at high speed, then 2G. Terms and conditions at totalwireless.com/terms.
Everything is better at Benton Nissan. At Benton Nissan of Bessemer and Benton Nissan of Hoover, you get an even bigger selection. We have more than 400 used cars on the ground. Don't pay above sticker for new cars when we have like new used cars waiting for you. Drive a little, save a lot at Benton Nissan of Bessemer, 5487 Academy Way, and Benton Nissan of Hoover, 1640 Montgomery Highway. Benton Nissan, your friend in the car business. For qualified customers, see dealer for details. Ends 9/30/21. Everything is better at Benton Nissan.
The real estate market is always tough. But this market, it's unlike anything we've ever seen. When the average home stays on the market just 24 days and houses routinely go for more than the listing price, who you work with matters. Realtors have the expertise, local knowledge, and personal touch to give you a competitive advantage throughout the entire home buying process. And that's something an ordinary agent could never do. So make sure your agent is a realtor. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
It's so sticky.
At Hannah's Organic Honey, business may be sweet, but they need an e-commerce queen bee to lead the hive.
Okay, these jars are going to Jakarta. Oh, wait a minute. Does that say Jackson?
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Schedule virtual interviews and talk to candidates right from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy weather continues this afternoon and tonight with rain at times. The high today 79, tonight's low 65. Tomorrow and Sunday, mostly cloudy both days with scattered to numerous showers and thunderstorms around. Highs between 77 and 80. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 80 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Follow Off the Edge on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube for live streams and instant analysis. Off the Edge with Jacob Harrison continues.
We're back here on Off the Edge, Tide 100.9. Jacob Harrison here with you. Joe Gaither behind the board, pressing the right buttons. And we were talking during the break, trying to figure out what Saban audio we wanted to go to, and Joe said something very, very intelligent. We're a lot closer to fine than we are to dead. And scrolling Twitter Saturday night, you thought Alabama lost. You scroll Twitter Saturday night, you'd think we played a terrible football game, and that's just not the case. We are so complacent in the idea that Alabama should just be perfect and it's business as usual, and we have no regard for how the other team plays, and that's a problem. That's a problem. But what is Nick Saban concerned about? That's what matters, right? What is Nick Saban concerned about? Nick Saban's not ready to fire anybody. Nick Saban is happy to be 3-0. But let's hear what Nick Saban is concerned about as we prepare for the Southern Miss Golden Eagles this weekend in Bryant-Denny Stadium, and then the Ole Miss Rebels the following weekend. Here's Nick Saban and what he's concerned about with his football team moving forward.
What concerned me most was that we could not sustain our intensity, especially on defense. We had a lot of mental errors, and they did a good job. They did a really good job, had a good plan. And, when you're playing the option and, everybody's got to be disciplined. Somebody's got the quarterback, somebody's got the pitch. And because we weren't doing that correctly, I think we were afraid to do a lot of other things that we had planned in the game. But we didn't get off the field on third down either. We had several opportunities, especially in the fourth quarter, to get off the field on third down where we created long yardage situations. When they went 99 yards for a touchdown, we got them backed up on the 1 yard line. We got them third down. We got to get off the field. Another situation where it was 3rd and 18, they complete a pass for 16 yards, go for it on fourth down and convert. So got to get off the field on third down. So all in all, it was just our execution on defense and the fact that we didn't get off the field on third down.
So Saban pays attention to the defense mostly there, but go back to that 3rd and 18. What happened on that play? Will Anderson timed the snap perfectly, and hit Emory Jones really hard as he was throwing the ball, and Emory Jones still completed the pass. And it set up a 4th and short, and Florida was able to get that one. That doesn't necessarily mean that you absolve the guy that was covering whoever caught the pass close to the sticks, but it also doesn't mean that you just throw everything out and say, well, it's not working. Something was working, and if Will Anderson was maybe 5 pounds lighter, that's a sack. And you see what sometimes things just kind of work out the way that they do because the other team is playing good football too. At Not KD3, we all love him, right? I feel sorry for whoever is playing Bama when Bama finally decides to play all 4 quarters. He's got a point. Once Alabama turns it on for all 4 quarters, and Southern Miss is probably going to get a taste of this. Alabama already opens up as a 46-point favorite. This one's going to be nasty. Southern Miss might potentially be the worst team that Alabama is playing this year. But when Alabama does do the first thing that Nick Saban said in his concerns, play with sustained intensity, sustained consistency and performance all throughout 4 quarters, which has really been his message since before the Mercer game. Once Alabama is able to do that, we'll be on our track to, or the team, excuse me, will be on its track to do the things it's used to doing in the postseason. But also we have to like step back, and I understand being critical. I am a very critical person. I will criticize everything under the sun. But like it got to the point on Saturday where we have gotten so used, we as Alabama fans have gotten so used to business as usual, to perfect football, that when our starting quarterback opts to throw a touchdown pass that had the tight end put his right foot down first instead of his left, it's a touchdown. We question if our quarterback is flipping scared. Are you kidding me? That is unacceptable behavior. Unacceptable. Kid threw 3 touchdowns in the first quarter, and then the rest of the game, the Florida defense played incredible football. And what we're asking is if our 6-foot-tall, 195-pound quarterback that for a split second thought, I'm going to run into 3 220-pound Florida Gator defenders, and instead opts to loft a perfectly placed ball over them to a big tight end who has made big plays in good situations and just so happens to put the wrong foot down. We're asking if our quarterback is scared.
Well, that ain't Jacob Harrison. That little Bryce Young, he ought to run through all those guys. It'd be tough and run through all those. Show your heart. You know who would have done it? Jacob Coker would have done it. Jacob Coker would have put his head down and ran right through those guys. That daggum Jacob Coker is a national champion.
Jacob Coker. It's one of my trigger names. You know it. Jacob Coker would have ran that ball. Jacob Coker probably would have scored. And you know what? We'd all be happy for it. But there were a lot of folks just extremely critical of Bryce Young for next to no reason outside of the fact that they're just not used to him playing the quarterback position, and they're used to Mac Jones being so efficient throwing to some of the greatest receivers that have ever been here. They're used to Tua Tagovailoa being so efficient throwing to some of the greatest receivers that have ever been here. Behind both of those quarterbacks, by the way, behind the greatest offensive lines that have ever played here, with Najee Harris at running back, the greatest running back to ever play here. And don't get hung up on those words. Just realize the fact that Bryce Young is a sophomore quarterback who has thrown 10 touchdowns to 0 interceptions and has played remarkable football this whole time. Was he inaccurate? Yeah. All quarterbacks are inaccurate at times. All of them. Even Mac Jones. Even Tua Tagovailoa. And while what those quarterbacks did well was utilized to great success, so has what Bryce Young does. Yes, you are going to miss balls. And yes, it was ugly to miss the back-to-back throws he did on, I believe it was the first 3-and-out for Alabama, where he missed the back shoulder fade, and then he missed a slant route, and it was like, okay, Bryce, come on. I know it's loud in the swamp, but you've got a job to do. But for the most part, he did that job. 22 of 35, 233 yards, 3 touchdowns. What are we talking about? Is it because he wasn't 30 of 35 and 5 touchdowns? Like, the pursuit of perfection, I understand. I really do.
Hey, man, Mac Jones wouldn't have let any balls hit the ground.
But when we're being realistic here, the other team played well. Alabama played excellently. And Florida just played a hair under that. That's all I'm getting at. There is a gap that exists, always has, between the elite teams and the great teams. And Florida falls in the great teams. Alabama falls in the elite teams. But that gap has shrunk a little bit for the 2021 season, and that's okay. That means we get good football. And I'm a football fan first, before I'm anything. And I was wrong about a lot of things going into this weekend, and we'll talk about the things that I was wrong about, because I think that's a funny segment, because I was wrong about so much. And that's okay. But what nobody on this airwave that I can tell has been wrong about is how well Bryce Young has played. And the fact that Nick Saban has talked continuously about how well Bryce Young has played, it's those around him who are not matching his level of success. And sometimes that's the way it goes. And I know, like, nobody wants to hear that. Like, a lot of folks want to be doom and gloom after this game, but I'm telling you, there's no reason to hit any sort of panic switch. There's no reason to relax either. There's got to be a happy medium where we take this win, be grateful for this win, and get ready for Southern Miss. Don't panic about Ole Miss. That's 2 weeks away. It's okay to think about it because what Alabama is going to do to Southern Miss would be considered sinful in 50 states. But regardless, there's plenty to still be excited about with this team. And you can still, I challenge you to find a better offense in college football. I really do. I can't. Oregon? Their quarterback can't throw the ball either. Iowa? If you can name one player for Iowa that's not that center.
TJ Hawkinson. Steven Montez.
Look at you. I didn't get to watch Big Ten football.
They were on the Hawkeyes years ago.
Oh, were they? Okay. See, that.
Dallas Clark.
There you go. Hey, no gloves.
George Kittle.
You don't mess with a guy that doesn't wear gloves. His main job is to catch the football. Georgia? Georgia's not better than Alabama simply based on the fact that Georgia's offense isn't as good as Alabama's. Their defenses are about even. You go back to Clemson and Ohio State, their offenses still haven't shown up to the game. Where is DJ Uiagalelei? We would like to know. Ole Miss's offense is pretty good, and I'll give you that. But their defense is not. It is improved. It is improved. I still feel very confidently that they will win 11 games in this season. One of them will not be against Alabama. I feel very confidently in that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. They play the games. I just talk about them. But at the end of the day, Alabama still has a great football team. Great. Elite defense. Very close to elite offense. Very close. We want to get bent out of shape for Chris Owens relinquishing a sack on the first third down against Mercer. And then in this game, he plays his heart out and gives Bryce Young all he's got. Then we need to recognize that. When you talk about Jamison Williams throwing hissy fits against Mercer and not being a factor in the ball game, and then in this game, he gets 8 targets, catches 4 of them for 61 yards, and at one point, looked like he was going to juke the entire Gators defense on the way to the end zone before he got slowed up. We got to recognize that. Brian Robinson's still the best player on the offense, not named Evan Neal. But at the end of the day, he's not dynamic enough. And that's sometimes just the reality of it. Jace McClellan's been playing excellent football. Cameron Latu has been playing excellent football. Jaleel Billingsley is finally back in the end zone. John Mechie's still a great wide receiver, an elite receiver in all of college football. Like, they're playing well. And I can't take it any other way other than to just continue to feel confident. And here's the thing. Title of the show, right? Alabama's vulnerable. How vulnerable is Alabama? What exactly does it mean that Alabama's vulnerable? And listen, I tweeted that out and towards the end of the game. Some people took it out of context. Other people understood what I was trying to say. Some people completely missed it. What Mac Hereford replied on there. Close games are awesome for us because they let the players know we are beatable and gives them a chance to get their minds right. That's what I was getting at. That's what I'm getting at. This is a good thing. It is a good thing to have to play this game. The same way it was last year when Alabama had to play Ole Miss like that. Despite that being the ultimate team, despite that being one of the greatest teams to ever play at Alabama, sometimes it is necessary. And while, yes, Chris Owens said it should not take something bad happening to us to be able to learn those things, sometimes this is life. The other guys influence the football game. Sometimes the other guys play well, and it impacts your ability to execute what you want to do. And there's only so much you can do about that. You imposing your will matters, but it's not it's not something that is wholly dependent on what you're capable of doing. The context of the situation is dependent upon who's across from you and how they handle your attempts to impose your will. Florida just didn't allow it. We're so used to getting off the bus and the other team seeing the script A and they lose. But when they don't, we internalize and we look at our team and start figuring out what the problem is. Sometimes you got to look across the line of scrimmage and say those guys played good football, because that's what happened on Saturday. The Swamp impacted it. The Swamp played a super key factor. I cannot stress this enough. Like I didn't know any way to terminalize it because I've only been in so many stadiums. And not all of them have always been in like crucial situations like that one. So when I went to Death Valley, it was against Troy. And while that was a close game that LSU eventually lost, it wasn't a full stadium, right? You know, they didn't get the whole state of Louisiana in there to watch LSU lose to Troy. When I've been to Bryant-Denny Stadium, it's been loud in like the first quarter, but then Alabama blows whoever it is out, and it doesn't sustain that. What Aaron Suttle said it, though. Said it was the loudest stadium he's ever been in, and he's been to a hell of a lot more games than I have. So I trust his judgment. It was loud. It was insanely loud. The jets that flew over the game, or flew over the stadium before the game, yeah, the fans routinely matched that. And those kinds of things matter. Yes, as a elite football player, as an elite football team, you have to be able to overcome those things. And Alabama did for the most part. That doesn't make it not a factor when you do overcome it. And then the ability to win a game that was this close, that matters in the long run too, because that shows that you're capable of doing those things. And that is the one thing to positively take away from this game. There is plenty to be excited about. I've listed off about 12, 13 players who played excellent football in that game and were really the difference makers in Alabama being able to hold on to that lead outside of the circumstantial extra points that Florida didn't take advantage of. Alabama's fine. They're a lot closer to fine than they are dead. Very intelligent there by Joe Gaither. We'll take a break. Bryant-Denny Stadium, it's your time, though. You saw what the Swamp did. You want your answers to Ole Miss? The Swamp gave them to you. We'll talk about it next here on Off the Edge. Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama sports.
Has the pandemic affected your business? Even with more and more customers going online in the past 5 years, online business has grown greatly due to the pandemic. Now more than ever, it's important to have a strong online presence so that customers can find your business and products easily. That's where Townsquare comes in to help. Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free competitive analysis to see how your business stands up to the competition. And if you're one of the first to sign up, you'll get $500 in free advertising on this radio station. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
Hey, welcome to Everything Outdoors. Can I help you find anything?
Hey, yeah. Can you point us to the camping gear?
Sure, aisle 2.
Snowboarding? Just bought a new Nissan Pathfinder. It's got intelligent 4x4, and we want to hit the backcountry.
Aisle 18.
And the boats?
Are you sure you can do all this?
Up to 6,000 pounds towing, we're good to go. Oh, where's the scuba gear?
Return to rugged in the all-new 2022 Nissan Pathfinder. Available intelligent 4x4 cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions. Towing capability varies by configuration. See Nissan Owner's Manual for proper use.
Meet Bob Minetti. In 2016, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Bob participated in a clinical trial that included cutting-edge radiation therapy and surgery. He's been in remission since completion. I'm Keisha Sharp. Since losing my mother to pancreatic cancer, I've been working to share the kind of state-of-the-art work being done by Stand Up to Cancer and Lustgarten Foundation. To learn more about the latest research, including clinical trials, visit pancreaticcancercollective.org.
It's so sticky.
At Hannah's Organic Honey, business may be sweet, but they need an e-commerce queen bee to lead the hive.
Okay, these jars are going to Jakarta. Oh, wait a minute. Does that say Jackson?
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Schedule virtual interviews and talk to candidates right from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
We're planning a trip to Spain later this year.
But our Spanish is...
It's pretty bad. So we're using Babbel.
Babbel's conversation-based method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive, bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
There's no easier way to learn another language.
Ahora hablamos español.
He just said, now we speak Spanish.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free. Just go to Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
The moment you fire up a Gator UTV, the engine has your full attention. The completed job is on the horizon, and the trail meets its match. Just like that, you made short work of a long to-do list. Run with us on a John Deere Gator UTV. With effortless four-wheel drive at the flip of the switch and our smoothest shifting transmission yet. Nothing runs like a Deere. Search John Deere Gator for more.
You're listening to Off the Edge on Tide 100.9.
We're back here on Off the Edge, Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. Before we went to break, I was talking about how loud the Swamp was. And like I can't exaggerate enough how loud it was. It wasn't even full. It was not full. But it was still insanely loud. So now the conversation has kind of turned towards Bryant-Denny Stadium. And while I said earlier, I've been in Bryant-Denny Stadium when it's been insanely loud, I forever ingrained how loud it got when Mack Wilson picked off the Texas A&M quarterback, Kellen Mond, in the first quarter against the Aggies in my first time in Bryant-Denny Stadium. So, I mean, like within 5 minutes of sitting down and you know, trying to just take in the game, this is the loudest environment I'd ever been in to that point. That has since changed. The Swamp, unreal. It was unreal. And all the respect to the Gators fans, because listen, I saw the look on Tim Tebow's face, and the fact that he was only willing to say if his team gets within 3 scores with Stephen A. Smith to wear the tie. Listen, there were a lot of folks that thought this game was going to go a different way. Me and Joe Gaither included. Thought this was going to be a blowout. Oh, they're going to cover that 14.
Should have. It was
Easy.
on its way. Dang, Bill O'Brien, take your foot off the gas.
Should have. 21-0 in the first quarter. That game was going exactly the way I thought it was going to go. But it didn't. It didn't. Props to the Gators fans, though. They stayed in the game. They only booed Emory Jones once, which was very surprising. That shows you how well he played. He didn't play elite, but he played good enough to keep them in the game. You look around, though, and you look at that Swamp, man. It was coming from every direction. Every direction. I don't know where you pin the blame in Bryant-Denny Stadium. I don't know if you pin it on the fact that this team has been so dominant for so long. But, I mean, Joe and I have been on this for a while now. Murder ball, joyless murder ball. The first adjective there is joyless for everybody. It's fun. It can be insanely fun. It's going to be a lot of fun to just watch Alabama just destroy this Golden Eagles football team. Okay. It's going to be fun. in its own sick way, right? But you don't get to do that every week. You don't. The kick for Ole Miss has just been announced as a 2:30 kick as well, so we'll see that one on CBS, and that's going to be a big game. That's going to be a big game. And that kind of leads right into the point. Bryant-Denny Stadium has got to challenge what the Swamp pulled off for its Gators. Bryant-Denny Stadium has got to do its part, similar to how Ole Miss Stadium was rocking this time last year. You ain't got to do it against Southern Miss. I understand that. That game's going to be the way that it's going to be. And this is my only stance on looking ahead of Southern Miss, because this is a serious thing within Bryant-Denny Stadium, within the Alabama Crimson Tide fandom. There's got to be more there. There has got to be more there. 110,000 people should be able to just shatter the eardrums of the opposing team. Plain and simple. You just have to be louder. You've just got every single thing. We've gotten to that point, though, where we want to be comfortable when we watch these games, where we don't want the stress. We don't want to have to worry. Bro, that's football. That's what we watch football for, because we're all insane. We're all broken, and we all need that, right? We need to feel that when we're watching the game. I love being annoyed at my Steelers when they lose to the hapless Raiders. That's what you watch it for. Not to be comfortable on a Saturday. We don't all spend gazillions of dollars on merch and to go tailgating and to go to these games to be comfortable. What is that?
I mean, they sound like they want a Hallmark movie, Jacob, where we know exactly what is going to happen. You know,
Yes.
boy and girl falls in love, have a little mystery, then they get back together, and boom, magical story, and Alabama wins 56-0.
That sounds boring. And listen, I want to win every national championship too. I'm not saying I want Alabama to be bad. I'm not saying I want Alabama to crash down to earth. But I am saying that the drama of college football needs to exist more because it's good for the sport. Alabama can be on the winning end of all of that drama, and I'm happy. And I'm not saying every game needs to be close. I'm not. Blow out who you're supposed to blow out. Go take care of Southern Miss this weekend. But when it's going to be a good game, I want a good game. Stone me in the street here in about an hour and a half after Nick Saban talks. If you disagree, I'll take him because I just want good football. That's all I ask for. We'll take a break, close it down. I'll tell you what I was wrong about this weekend here on Off the Edge. Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama sports.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-777-1225. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-777-1225. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-777-1225. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-777-1225. 800-777-1225.
The pitch is moving up a day.
Antonio's animation studio needs a 3D designer today.
What are we going to do?
Someone who's as artistic as they are organized.
How are we going to get all this done? What about the production schedule?
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Screen for quality candidates with the skills your role needs with Indeed assessments. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply. Dell's semi-annual sale is the perfect time to power up productivity and gaming victories. Now you can save what Dell employees save on high-performance tech. Save 17% on the latest XPS and Alienware computers with Intel Core processors. Plus, check out exclusive savings on Dell monitors, headsets, and accessories for greater immersion in all you do. Upgrade today by calling 800-BY-DELL. Again, that's 800-BY-DELL, or you can visit Dell.com/semi-annual sale.
The pitch is moving up a day.
Antonio's animation studio needs a 3D designer today.
What are we going to do?
Someone who's as artistic as they are organized.
How are we going to get all this done? What about the production schedule?
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Screen for quality candidates with the skills your role needs with Indeed assessments. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Dell's semi-annual sale is the perfect opportunity for a significant business upgrade. Save up to 45% on Dell computers built for business with Windows 10 Pro. Plus, enjoy special pricing on Dell docks, monitors, servers, and more, all with easy financing options through Dell Financial Services. Succeed anywhere with Windows 10 Pro. Speak to a Dell Technologies advisor today to find the right tech for your business with fast, free shipping. Call 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy weather continues this afternoon and tonight with rain at times. The high today 79, tonight's low 65. Tomorrow and Sunday, mostly cloudy both days with scattered to numerous showers and thunderstorms around. Highs between 77 and 80. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 80 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You're listening to Off the Edge on Tide 100.9.
We're back off the edge, Tide 100.9. You can read about Will Anderson being the SEC Player of the Week, Tide109.com. The coaches have also selected Jace McClellan, Brian Robinson, Phil Mathis, and Jordan Battle as the Players of the Week, beside Will Anderson for the squad, as well as the news that broke about 20 minutes ago. Ole Miss, the kickoff for the Alabama Crimson Tide versus the Rebels will be at 2:30 inside Bryant-Denny Stadium on CBS. So plenty of fun to be had there. I want to start doing this on Mondays. I usually don't have gimmicky type things outside of Jake's hot takes on the Tide postgame show. But I was wrong about a lot this weekend. So and I stand by it. Like, I'll do hot takes and I'll stand confidently in what I say. And if I'm wrong, I'm gonna point it out. And I was exactly right. I was wrong about a few things.
You're exactly right.
Joey was too, and that's why he's so adamant. What the first thing is what both of us were wrong about. We've talked about for the past 50 minutes. Florida played well. Florida was a much better football team than I gave them credit for. I knew their defensive line was good. I knew their secondary was good. But they stepped up in an even better way. And as far as their offense goes, man, listen, they got it done without their elite players. Anthony Richardson didn't play a single snap. Damian Pierce, 24 total rushing yards on 7 carries. That wasn't very good. Jacob Copeland was held to 1 catch, 10 yards. They got it done with guys that are not their best players, and that's what shows how good of a play caller Dan Mullen is. The other thing I was wrong about, Auburn. Very wrong about Auburn. Hey, it happens. When you throw a fade route on 4th and goal, you deserve to lose, especially when you throw that fade route with Bo Nix. Not here for it. Last thing I was wrong about, Kentucky, man. Can't be struggling with Chattanooga. You got to cover the
Come
spread.
on, man. Mocks are strong.
No, can't do it. Kentucky, you got to play better, man. I want you to be the second best team in the East. You got to step it up. Hey, go check out Alabama Vintage, AlabamaVTG.com, at AlabamaVTG on the Instagram. Go check them out. Great stuff in store. Sale going on right now as well. Check them out on Instagram, at AlabamaVTG, for more information. The Jay Barker Show is up next. We'll hear from Nick Saban as well. Ryan Fowler will take you from 2 to 6. Crimson Tide Rewind after that. I'm Jacob Harrison for Joe Gaither. This is Off the Edge, Tide 100.9.
Thank you for listening to Off the Edge.
Can't tell you how proud I am of our players, our team.
Join us every Monday from 8 to 10 and Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and the Tide 100.9 app.
We're planning a trip to Spain later